Hello. So I have a fun little video for you guys today. I have been spending a bunch of time doing some ink mixing with my Ferris Wheel Press inks. Some of you might know that I am a Ferris Wheel Press creative ambassador, and I get a couple of inks each month to experiment with and try out and share with you guys. But I have also bought a bunch of their inks in the past, and because of that I have amassed quite a collection. So what I wanted to do was to use some of the more lighter inks that I don't tend to use in a pen so much because of readability. I do use them in my artwork a lot, but I do tend to kind of mix them a little bit. So I thought, why not go one step further and actually create a bunch of mixes with these light colors. And I decided to pick out 4 of my darker colors to mix them with. And so this is kind of the selection of colors that I chose. Some of them are totally readable in a pen. A lot of people like Oyster Hour and Central Park Greens is pretty readable too, but I just find myself not inking them up just because they're a little light, just for me personally. So I thought I would just share this with you guys if you're interested in mixing any of your inks. I am not saying that you can mix your inks. I'm not speaking for Ferris Wheel Press at all. I have mixed them with absolutely no problem and put them in pens with no issue. It doesn't say on their site that you can mix them like the Birmingham Pen Co. site does, but I have not run into any issues. But just take that piece of information and use it as you will. Again, I haven't had any issues, but they do not openly say mix all your inks together on their site. So let's just take a look at how I went about this whole process. I've got a bunch of different sample sheets in here that I have put together. But to start off with, I thought I would just go over the basics of how I mix inks and the sort of the process that I went through. I really recommend, if you're going to mix any of your inks, to depot them into little sample vials, because if you are mixing a lot like I was mixing, it's very easy to cross-contaminate and also tip bottles over and all that kind of stuff. So I would start off by creating little sample vials of these inks, just so that you have a smaller risk of contamination and such. It's also easier to deal with when you're actually portioning stuff out. Another tool that I found super useful in this experimentation was using these little eyedroppers. I just bought a 20 pack off Amazon. I can put the links in the description below if you want to check out those. They're relatively cheap. I think it was under $10, but super duper helpful if you're dealing with a lot of different colors and you're trying to mix things together. They are not ridiculously scientifically accurate. The drop sizes are going to be different, but for my experiment, I just kind of wanted to see what the gist of the color would be and then further tweak it if I wanted to create one of these mixes to put in a pen later on. But super duper helpful, and I ended up using a bunch of these. I also had a couple from pen purchases in the past. I think this was for some kind of Mahjong pen or something like that. It came with a little eyedropper. The great thing about these compared to these sort of pipettes is that you can wash these out really easily and you can dry them much easily. I started off doing a couple of little tests with this and I just could not get the water out. Everything was going up into the bulb. But with these types of glass pipettes, you can pull off the ends here, super duper easy, rinse them underwater, dry them out with a Q-tip, and then pop these back on when they're dry. And I ended up rinsing these out a bunch of times during the testing, and it didn't really slow me down much because it was a very easy process. So I highly recommend these if you're going to do any kind of measuring or grabbing from your little vials rather than those plastic pipettes. Another thing that I used was this No. 2 watercolor brush. I bought a couple of these. They get stained really fast. They start off with sort of this white Taklon, but I really love the capacity of the No. 2 because it's not too big, it's not too small, and you get a good sampling of the ink without losing a lot when you rinse your brush out. So I really enjoy this little paintbrush. And then for my paper, I use marker paper because I think that it shows the best qualities of the ink. It really shows shading, shimmer, and sheen. I get mine from Jackson's, but I think I'm going to try out the Blick version of marker paper as well. I just really like it for displaying the inks. And then for the swatching paper, I actually use my Kikuyo Sarasa paper. So this paper I absolutely love for sampling inks on. Again, it's very similar to the marker paper. It shows all of the properties of your ink. It's super easy. It does bleed through just a little, but it doesn't really matter to me. I just use these for cataloging, and I have a little binder that I can put these in, so I love the organization aspect of it. I do all my color swatching in here for my inks that I own. So I can go through that in another video if you guys want to see that, but just a super easy way of keeping track of all your inks and also cataloging them. So that's the paper that I used for these little tests. So let's take a look at the inks that I chose to use for this experiment. So the dark inks that I chose are Beaver Dam Brown, Spruce County Post, Crystal Blue Legacy, and Gossiping Grapevine. So we have sort of this deep sort of warm brown, a green, a blue, and a purple. The reason I chose these was just that they were the darkest inks that I had. I thought using one drop of this would be good to add some more readability to these colors and just change this sort of color mix. And then the lighter colors that I chose is this beautiful soft spectrum here. So we have Plaited Gold Tress, Wonderland in Coral, Oinking Embers. These two are very similar, but I kind of just wanted to see what the difference would be and if there was any difference. So I really wanted to try both of those. I did Oyster Hour, the Fluttering Heart, Malibu Blush, the Purple Jade Rabbit, Unfettered Flight, Blue Yosemite Falls, Grand Central Skies, and Central Park Greens. So my little set of rules that I set myself was that I was going to use these inks settled. So I did not shake any of the sample vials. I didn't really want the shimmer to influence the color mix. I just wanted to get the base color mix because I often do use my shimmer inks just as base colors. So I wanted to do my experiments like that. So for the most part, the mixes that I got are just flat mixes. And then I did select a few of my favorites and actually shook the sample bottles and mixed them together that way just to see what it would be like if I did want to do that. So we have a couple of those to look at as well. But yeah, most of it I just wanted to see the color mixes and thought it would be really interesting and helpful for you guys to see those too. Again, there are tons and tons of inks. You could do this with any dark colors that you wanted, or even just the readable colors and then mix them 50-50. I chose to do mixes of 1 drop of these guys to 2, 4, and 8 drops of these respectively to see the different shifts in color. So I guess let's take a look at the mixes. I'm not going to put you through the laborious task of watching me swatch all these out. I've already done them and I have got some footage of it. I've put in the beginning here and sort of sprinkle it throughout so that you can see the process. But mainly I just wanted to be able to share the different colors with you and the possibilities and just sort of ignite some creativity. If you do have inks that are a little bit too hard to read, or you just find you're not using them, especially if they're in the same brand, that's probably the safest way to mix colors. You can get your own sort of custom colors pretty safely. So these are the colors that I mixed with on the side, and then the numbers here, the ×2, ×4, and ×8 means that I put 1 drop of this Beaver Dam Brown, and then I put 2 drops of the Malibu Blush. So because these colors are so light, the first one with the 2 drops doesn't tend to shift it a lot. I mean, it definitely shifted it a little bit into the pink, but you can see that it gets sort of pinker and pinker for the 4 and the 8. Some of them make a huge difference depending whether it's 4 or 8 times as much. Sometimes it doesn't. Like for example, on this Spruce County Post, it really shifts at 8. You can see a slight sort of pink in this one with the 2 drops. Then I went to 4 drops versus 1, and you can really see that influence of the pink and the green mixing together. And then here with the 8, you really have a lot of difference. And I think this color is absolutely beautiful. It's such a shift from the Spruce County Post, as well as this sort of really vibrant sort of fluorescent-y pink. So I was really excited by this shift. When you have colors that are closer to the original color, it doesn't tend to shift a ton. But I also really love this Gossiping Grapevine. You can see the difference here when you put it right next to it. that it has shifted from both of these, and you've got this brand new color which is really, really lovely and much more readable. So I really liked this one. I don't tend to use Malibu blush much in writing. It's a really lovely color, but it is quite light, so I sort of use it for headers and stuff. I don't tend to write a lot of big blocks of text with it. And as you'll see going forward, I didn't write all of these in here because, you know, I just couldn't be bothered. So I thought I'd show you this one first, where this is one of the colors I started off with, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to write all this stuff in here. But I thought for showing you guys, it's just as easy to have them on the side. And I didn't want to waste real estate on the page to show the original swatches of these. I just wanted to do kind of the mixing and get a gist of the overall look. I also really like this one here with the 8. I must admit, most of the 8 mixes are probably what I would go with these lighter colors, just because they are so undersaturated that you kind of need a bunch to overpower these darker colors. So as you see when we go through, the bigger shifts in color are going to be right here. So that's our Malibu blush. Next up we have Plaited Gold Tress. So this one you can see really, really shifted. Even 2 drops with this Beaver Dam Brown made a huge difference because this is quite a highly saturated color. It did have quite a lot of influence over color shifting. So you can see that these really shifted a lot from the original color. This one is a really good example. This Plaited Gold Tress is actually quite writable. I just wanted to use it because I didn't have a yellow in the mixing, and I thought it would be really fun just to see that big shift. But I really love this color here, a really sort of fresh, zesty green. And I also quite like this mustardy one. Actually, I really like all of these colors here. Even this one here, which is sort of a little more tealish. Because I'm just using pipettes or the eyedropper, it's not super accurate. So even though I've said this is sort of 8 times this color and 1 times this color, you may find, because it's at such a sort of condensed ratio, that your drops might be bigger or smaller or whatever. So you may need to experiment a little bit to get these same colors. And I'm sure I would get it a little bit different each time, depending on, you know, the size of the drop and such. But it's just to kind of give an overview of what is potentially possible with this. So super interesting on the Plaited Gold Tress for sure. I love all those color shifts. Next up we have Wonderland in Coral. So this produced some of my favorite mixes. I just think these are all delicious, and they did shift quite substantially even with the 2. So you can almost do 2 to 1 and still get a different color here. I love these sort of pinky browns that are coming through. This one is amazing. I love this sort of duochrome, especially this one here. So this is 4 drops of the coral plus 1 drop of the Spruce County Post. It probably will vary when you put it in a pen, but I just think this is probably my favorite page of all the mixes. I could go with any of these colors, and they are such a shift from the originals. As you can see, none of these are close to that grape. These are shifting into the sort of purpley grayish color. We've got some beautiful brownish greens here. We have these beautiful sort of dusty, almost rose colors here, or corally, dusty coral colors. So this is definitely one of my favorite mixes. This does have a shimmer in it, this coral. So I do want to see some of these mixes shaken up a little bit. Just to let you know, the Crystal Blue Legacy and the Gossiping Grapevine both have shimmer. Again, when I was doing these, I just wanted to use the unshaken version just so I could get the base color. The base color will stay the same once it's been mixed together, but that shimmer is really going to influence how it writes, because you often get a lot of shimmer when you're writing. That is another potential color mix factor that you got to think about. But if you're just mixing the base colors, this is what you're going to kind of get. And I love, love, love this sheet. Next up, and kind of along the same lines as the Wonderland in Coral, is the Oinking Embers. And again, these are beautiful as well. They're not as different as the coral because, as you can see, this is a lot more saturated and a little more bright. So just comparing these, here you can see these have a little bit more departure from the original colors. You can see with the greens here, this definitely didn't enter into this realm. It kind of just stayed quite subtle. Actually, all of these mixes are much, much, much more subtle. This is absolutely beautiful though. This one here, I think that's so gorgeous. Sort of this very dusty purple color. I think some of these greens are really nice. Again, I always love the sort of brownish coral colors, so really lovely, but not a ton of color shift. Much more subtle color changes than the Wonderland in Coral. Next up we have Oyster Hour. I actually quite like this ink just by itself. I don't think you have to mix it, but I just wanted to see what it would do to these colors. And I think these ones are really interesting. I mean, look at that huge shift from both of these colors. I actually really like this one in the middle here. And then again, we have the green sort of being influenced by that brown. The top ones didn't shift too much. Definitely have it going more into the yellower browns or oranger browns than the red browns. But yeah, really lovely mixes too. And we have Purple Jade Rabbit, which is quite a light ink. So not a huge color shift actually on most of these. I think the most interesting one is probably this green here. It has some really lovely sort of chromo shading here with the influence of the purple, and just that undertone. It's sort of heading more into the blue zone. This is adding a bit more blue to it. This color here is actually really beautiful as well. Oh, we do have some shift up here, a little more pinky or mauvey compared to that deep brown. These ones just seem a little lighter. I mean, it is purple plus purple, so we're really not getting a lot of change there. And then it's just sort of toning down this crystal blue legacy. So not a super interesting change there. Now, the next one is Unfettered Flight. So this one again is a very light color, so we're not seeing a huge shift of colors here. I kind of like this one here, the grape plus that. It's sort of a really lovely lilac-y color. The green is kind of nice, but I don't know. I don't think it's done much to change it at all. It's a very light color. I think maybe I needed to do kind of like 16 to 1 to really influence the darker colors. You definitely have a little bit of a shift, but not much. So you might want to experiment a little bit more with this one, or I might want to, having a bit more of a contrasting color. Maybe I need to mix it kind of with an orange to get a completely different color. Maybe that's the way to go. I have a lot of very readable oranges like the Lantern Crossing or Terracotta Canyon, or even some of these reds, maybe the Song of Scarlet or Cabernet on the Lake. So I might do a little more further experimenting with this color, just because this set didn't really influence it a lot. You know, also when you're doing all these color mixing, you are using quite a lot of inks. I ended up with maybe 4.5 vials of ink. After I mixed it, I would suck out all the leftover ink in the palettes and put them into little vials because I didn't want to waste it. And I thought I'm definitely going to be able to use this for something later on because I'm a bit of a Scrooge like that. Okay, so the next one is another very light ink. So this is Blue Yosemite Falls. So this one, again, did not influence the mixes too much, pretty much like the Unfettered Flight. It is just a very lightly saturated color. I will probably need to mix it with a higher density, but we do have some lovely, I think the purples are probably quite lovely down here again. Yeah, so not a ton of shifting. Maybe this last one here is quite nice. It has sort of some gray and blue purple going on in there. So this one may need further investigation as well. So not a ton of shift there. So this one we have a lot of green. So everything kind of turned out green here. We have some beautiful sort of mixes here. You can see the departure from the original crystal blue. Even with just these two drops here, we've gone to this sort of tealy color, and then we've got some really sort of fresh deep greens here. With the Spruce County Post, it didn't do a ton. It's a little odd to me that the 2 versus the 4, actually they all look pretty similar. The 4 looks the darkest, which is odd. Sometimes that just happens, who knows. These ones are quite lovely. I like this number 8 here, this sort of muddy, murky green. I really quite like that. And this did shift pretty considerably, even just with the 2. So you've got sort of like a more cooler brown than this warm brown here. Oh, and I really like that one there, that first one. It's a very odd grayish purple color. So yeah, understandably not much of a shift with the greens there, but very interesting. And then lastly, we have the Fluttering Heart, which is a very, very light color. It's beautiful, but it is quite light. And as you can see, it really didn't shift these colors much at all. We have a little bit of shifting here in the 8 drops here, and this is considerably lighter and actually quite a pretty color. It's got a little bit of a dull gray in there, which is really nice that this Fluttering Heart added. So I think that maybe these two are quite beautiful. The Beaver Dam Brown didn't shift a lot here. So yeah, this one I probably need to experiment a little bit more, kind of like the Unfettered Flight one. It really didn't shift much. So I think I probably need to put more of this Fluttering Heart in, or maybe mix it with another readable color that isn't as deep as this, so that you can get more of this color coming through. And then I did do another little experiment. I wanted to play around with Barrington Black, just because it's the darkest Ferris Wheel Press bottle that I own. So I thought, what if I just added 1 drop of Barrington Black to 8 drops, because we saw the most color shift in the colors from here. And I think these are beautiful. Like, all of these colors I would use. This Gold Tress is super interesting. It's kind of gone green. So I guess the Barrington Black, where's my little swatch of Barrington Black? Here we go. So it does have some cool undertones here. So I guess that's sort of influencing that color, but I just think these are all lovely. You can see how much it changes. This is supposed to be Blue Yosemite Falls. I just wrote Yosemite Falls, but that 1 drop of black really, really changes it. So if you have any of these lighter colors and you have a really dark color like Barrington Black or one of the other ones, I think just adding 1 drop to that is gonna shift it. It's gonna make it these definitely look a little bit more subdued, but oh, the Terracotta Canyon, I don't think I showed that one. I don't think I did a full page of Terracotta Canyon. I just threw that in because I was really interested by these sort of corally colors up here that I wanted to try another orange. So Terracotta Canyon is just another sort of orangey color. It has a bit of brown in it, and so I absolutely love this. I think my favorite is the Wonderland in Coral. I think this and the Oinking Embers, actually, those are really beautiful. I'm really drawn to sort of those corally, pinky, sort of rosy mixes, and Malibu Blush is lovely too. Actually, I like all of these. I like how that black is just bringing it down to be a little bit more of a subdued color and making it much more readable. So I think this was a really good experiment, even if you just do this and sort of mix one of your lighter colors with the Barrington Black. These are all 8 drops of color to 1 drop of Barrington Black. You still get a bunch of that color from the original, but it's really toning it down with this black. So I think this is one of the most interesting pages for sure. And then this page is where I picked out a couple of the ones that I really, really liked, and I did the shimmer version of it. So this is without the shimmer, so it's 8 drops of Oinking Embers and 1 drop of Beaver Dam Brown. And then I shook the vials and measured it out again. So we have the shimmer from the Oinking Embers here. This one is also Oinking Embers and Spruce County Post. Spruce County Post does not have any shimmer. So you can see, I think this goes really, really well because Oinking Embers has a green shimmer in it as well as sort of a coral shimmer. So I think that mix works really lovely. And then this one is the Purple Jade Rabbit, which has a silver shimmer, plus the Beaver Dam Brown. So I like both of those mixes, and I think that would work really lovely. These 4 here are just straight mixes. Neither of the inks had shimmer in it, but these were just a couple that I really enjoyed the mix of. And then this last one here is Wonderland in Coral. and Gossiping Grapevine, which both have shimmer. So we end up with this silvery, sort of dusty rose color. And actually Wonderland and Coral, I think, has sort of an orange shimmer, and Gossiping Grapevine has does it have a silver shimmer? Let me see. No, it has sort of like a rose gold shimmer. So that works amazingly well. I've got this beautiful, I'm not sure if you can see it on camera, but those two mix really, really well, and the shimmer really matches. So I really enjoyed these couple of mixes. And so this just gives me a really good idea of what I want to mix together and put in a pen. I did actually start doing all of this because I got one of the Kakuna Madrami pens, and I didn't really have a color that exactly went with it. So I wanted to mix up one, and I think that this one at the top here is really, really a good match. I think it could also go with that Wonderland in Coral, although it's a little deeper. But I think that that could go really well. I don't think I'm going to add the shimmer to it. I'm not sure if I'm too excited by the green shimmer on that compared to just the flat color. And then this is a painting that I did from some of the leftovers that I had. Actually, I think it was the last one that I did, which was, what was that? The golden tress, I think it was. Yeah, plaited golden tress. So I had all these inks in here, and I ended up sort of adding some water and just doing this painting, and you can see all the various colors that come out with the water. This is on Tomoe River paper, and I just wanted to show you, these are the little sample vials that I ended up with. So we have kind of this green color, a bluish color. Actually, I should swatch this out so you can see it. So let's just swatch them out. We won't do anything super formal. I just want to swatch them out so you can see the difference. So what I did is I kind of just emptied it out into these vials randomly, and I was really lucky to actually get a bunch of different colors. So I just labeled them mixing leftovers. These are all pretty much full except for this last one here. So again, we know what colors that I swatched out, but we don't know how much of each. So we have this gorgeous weird green. So we have that green, which is amazing. And this is mostly the last round I did, which was that golden, which was the plaited golden tress. And then we have, ooh, a lovely sort of lilac-y purple. And again, when I'm swatching all of this stuff, I think with the footage, I cut most of it out, but in between every single swatch, I would wash my brush out and redip it. Sometimes it looks like I was just redipping it back into the same thing, but I was trying to be pretty meticulous about separating that. Ooh, we have like a pinkier purple here, quite similar to that top one. Seems like a grayish blue color. Oh, that's lovely. I am surprised how light these are. I thought they would be darker, but I guess none of our experiments were that dark. So, oh, that one's gorgeous too. So 3 that are kind of in the purple realm, and we have a grayish blue, and then this wonderful green because of that yellow in the end. So I don't think I did too bad with that. These are actually really beautiful as well. And there is shimmer on the bottom of some of these. I actually contaminated, I think, the Purple Jade Rabbit. I only had a little bit left in the sample vial, and I stuck the wrong pipette into it. So I actually used that as one of the starter vials for this and mixed into it. So it's probably this one here that has the most purple in it. But I think these are wonderful too. So how exciting is that? I've got whole big vials of these. So nothing went to waste except the little bits that are left over here in the thing, and that was left in the eyedroppers. But I tried to be as conservative as I could, and I think that worked out really lovely. So how exciting. So if you guys have any other suggestions about what Ferris Wheel Press inks I should mix, feel free to leave me a comment down below. I will maybe post that on Instagram or maybe YouTube stories or something like that. But just as another quick disclaimer, Ferris Wheel Press does not either say you can or you can't mix their inks anywhere on their website. So please do this at your own risk. I have never had any issue mixing them as long as I stay within brands. So for example, like Birmingham Pen Company on their website sort of promotes you to mix them. They have recipes and stuff like that. The trouble that you run into most of the time with mixing inks is when you mix them from different brands, because they all have their own proprietary mixes. They have lubricants or dyes or pigments, and sometimes they don't behave well with each other. But I've never had a problem staying within a brand and the certain types of inks like dyes or pigments, just sticking to those. But again, Ferris Wheel Press does not say you can or you can't, so all of this said, you know, do it at your own risk. Yeah, so thanks for watching, guys. I will put all the links to everything in the description, as well as a bunch of affiliate codes for different deals around the internet. So I update that pretty frequently, so check that out if you want to help support the channel. And I hope you have fun, and I hope it was informative and educational and inspires you to create. And I will see you in the next one. Bye!